Imagine for a moment that the wallet in your pocket or the small savings in your bank account were suddenly, overnight, worth 100 times more than they are today. The dream of a single financial decision catapulting an ordinary life into one of extraordinary wealth is a fantasy that has captivated millions. And for over 2 decades, this exact dream has been the engine behind one of the most persistent and divisive speculative investments in the modern world, the Iraqi dinar. The recent whirlwind of reports emanating from Baghdad, suggesting that high-level government and banking discussions are intensifying around a potential currency revaluation, has sent shockwaves through this community, reigniting a hope that many had all but abandoned. But before we get swept away in the tidal wave of excitement and bold claims of a 2026 countdown, we have to pause and ask the single most important question that gets lost in the hype. Is this the long-awaited financial miracle? Or are we witnessing the most sophisticated chapter yet in a story that has, for 20 years, been defined by disappointment? The truth, as it always is buried not in the sensational headlines but in the cold, hard, and often inconvenient data of Iraq's economic reality. Let's be brutally honest with ourselves. The narrative of an imminent dinar revaluation is not new. It has been a cornerstone of a multi-billion-dollar industry that sells currency to hopeful investors in the West. A cycle that repeats every few years with new dates, new political actors, and new confirmed reports that somehow never materialize into the promised global currency reset. So what makes this current update different? The proponents are pointing to 2 key factors. The recent movements with the Vietnamese dong, creating a parallel narrative of a global shift in frontier currencies, and the genuine, tangible internal reforms that the Iraqi government is undertaking under immense pressure from the United States and international financial bodies like the International Monetary Fund. This is where the twist enters our story, the critical piece of analysis that separates reality from fantasy. Yes, Iraq is absolutely working towards a stronger, more stable currency, but the goalposts have been moved. The real story isn't about a magical flip of a switch revaluation that will make foreign dinar holders instantly rich. It's about a painful, slow, and arduous journey towards monetary sovereignty and getting off the dollar standard. For years, Iraq's economy has been crippled by a dual currency system where the Iraqi dinar is used for local transactions. But everything of significant value, from oil exports to major government contracts, is priced and settled in US dollars. This dependence has created a massive black market for dollars and has been a primary source of corruption and economic leakage. The current policy shifts you're hearing about are fundamentally designed to crush this black market and enforce a single, unified official exchange rate. The Central Bank of Iraq is raising interest rates, tightening monetary policy, and cracking down on illegal dollar auctions. This is not a prelude to an RV. This is a desperate battle for basic economic control. When you analyze the situation through this lens, the entire narrative shifts. The revaluation the investor community dreams of is a speculative fantasy of a 1,000% or more increase. The revaluation that is actually on the table in Baghdad is a potential gradual strengthening of the dinar by maybe 10, 15, or 20% over several years as the economy stabilizes and dollar dependence wanes. A fantastic outcome for the Iraqi people, but a catastrophic disappointment for those sitting on millions of dinar notes expecting a life-changing windfall. The comparison to the Vietnamese dong is a classic red herring, a misleading analogy used to create a false sense of an emerging trend. Vietnam's economic story is its own, with different challenges, different geopolitics, and a different trajectory. Linking the two is a sales tactic, not a financial analysis. So, as we stand at this crossroads of intense speculation and genuine reform, the most crucial thing you can do is to understand the real game being played. The next time you see a headline screaming "Countdown to RV," you'll know to look past the hype and ask about the black market dollar gap, about the success of the central bank's tightening measures, and about the real incremental progress Iraq is making. This deeper understanding is your only real shield against the siren song of easy wealth. So if the grand, life-altering revaluation is a myth, what is the powerful force that keeps this narrative not just alive, but thriving with such relentless energy, morphing and adapting to every new geopolitical development? The answer lies in understanding the immense and sophisticated ecosystem that has been built, not around the Iraqi dinar as a currency, but around the idea of the Iraqi dinar as a lottery ticket. This is a multifaceted machine, fueled by 3 powerful engines: masterful psychological marketing, a deeply interconnected network of financial interests, and the digital age's ability to create self-reinforcing echo chambers. Let's dismantle this machine piece by piece. First, the psychological playbook is straight out of a master manipulator's guide. The messaging is meticulously crafted to bypass your logical brain and speak directly to your deepest desires and fears. It employs the powerful trigger of scarcity. The window is closing. The banks are about to stop selling, creating an artificial urgency that pressures you into acting before you've had a chance to do your own due diligence. It then couples this with the potent fear of missing out, or FOMO, by showcasing, often in meticulously edited conference calls and YouTube videos, supposedly ordinary people who have already invested and are waiting for their Lamborghinis, creating a social proof that makes you feel left behind if you don't participate. And finally, it wraps everything in a cloak of patriotic and moral righteousness, framing the investment not as a gamble, but as a supportive act for a nation rebuilding from war, making any skepticism feel not just cautious, but almost unpatriotic. This powerful marketing would be ineffective, however, without the second engine, a clear and highly profitable pipeline. This isn't a decentralized movement of hopeful individuals, it's a well-oiled business. At the top, you have the authorized dealers and their vast networks of promoters who sell the physical currency notes directly to you, the retail investor, often at a significant markup over the official bank rate. Their profit is instant and guaranteed the moment you make the purchase. Their financial incentive is completely disconnected from whether a revaluation ever happens. Then you have the ancillary industry, the gurus, the premium subscription services, the paid-for intel reports, and the conference organizers, all monetizing the hope itself. They sell you the interpretation of the news, positioning themselves as the essential guides to navigate a complex process that they themselves have helped to obfuscate. Their business model depends on the perpetual anticipation of the RV, not its actual occurrence, because the moment the event happens, or is conclusively proven to be a fantasy, their revenue stream evaporates. This leads us to the third and most modern engine, the digital echo chamber. Platforms like YouTube, certain Facebook groups, and dedicated forums have become perfect incubators for this narrative. The algorithms are designed to keep you engaged, and nothing is more engaging than the promise of life-changing wealth. As you watch one video, the algorithm suggests another, more urgent one. You join a group where dissent is quickly removed or shouted down, and where every minor news item from Iraq, from a vague central bank statement to a photo of a politician smiling, is presented as a confirmed and undeniable sign that the event is just days away. This creates a powerful collective delusion where the sheer volume of repetitive, positive content is mistaken for truth. The real twist, the one that every investor must confront, is that the entire structure is designed for you to be a consumer of hope, not a beneficiary of wealth. The system wins when you buy the currency and then wait. It wins when you consume more content to validate your purchase. It does not win, and in fact collapses, if the revaluation actually occurs as promised. This is the ultimate contradiction at the heart of the dinar investment thesis. The very people leading the charge have no financial incentive for the final outcome to happen. Their success is measured in the number of dinars sold and the number of subscribers gained, not in the exchange rate set by the Central Bank of Iraq. Understanding this brutal economic reality is the most critical step in protecting your capital and your sanity. It transforms the investment from a financial decision into a psychological one, where you are no longer analyzing balance of payments and monetary policy, but your own vulnerability to expertly crafted marketing and the seductive lure of an easy escape from financial struggle. So, we've navigated the turbulent waters of sensational headlines and dismantled the sophisticated machinery of the hope industry, which brings us to the most critical juncture. What is the actual, data-driven future for the Iraqi dinar? And what should you, as a savvy viewer, do with this information? Let's be unequivocally clear. The official policy of the Central Bank of Iraq, as consistently communicated by Governor Ali al-Alaq, is focused on one thing above all else: stability. The so-called currency reform you often hear about is not a secret plan for a miraculous revaluation. It is a technical project to redenominate the currency by removing 3 zeros, a process designed to simplify accounting and modernize the cash-based system, not to create overnight millionaires. This is a logistical move, similar to what Turkey and Brazil have done in the past, and it would not change the purchasing power of the currency. 1,000 current dinars would simply become one new dinar, with salaries and prices adjusting accordingly. The central bank has been clear that this is a long-term plan, still in the planning stages, and will only be implemented when the economic conditions are perfectly stable, with no timetable announced. Meanwhile, the economic fundamentals paint a picture of managed stability, not explosive growth. As of late 2025, the dinar is trading in a very tight range of approximately 1,307 to 1,310 IQD per USD, supported by substantial foreign exchange reserves of around $95 billion. However, this stability is fragile and rests entirely on a bedrock of oil, which accounts for over 90% of government revenue, leaving the currency perpetually vulnerable to global price shocks. Furthermore, the government is facing a significant fiscal shortfall, with the oil price required to balance the budget now at $84 per barrel while prices hover in the ILR of 1560 ZAs, forcing difficult choices between funding public sector salaries, which consume over 40% of the workforce, and the critical investment in infrastructure needed for long-term diversification. This is the real battle in Baghdad, not a debate over a revaluation windfall. The most probable scenarios from expert analyses are not dramatic. The base case, with a 60% probability, is for continued managed stability with the dinar pegged within its current range. A gradual strengthening is a lower probability bull case, dependent on successful IMF-backed reforms and a significant diversification of the economy away from oil, a process that will take many years, not months. The bear case, a potential depreciation, remains a real threat if oil prices collapse or political instability, which is ever present, erupts into a more severe crisis. Given this undeniable evidence, the path forward for you requires a radical shift from passive hope to active intelligence. Your greatest shield is not finding the right guru, it's understanding the right data. Stop chasing secret intel and start monitoring the official, publicly available indicators. Watch the monthly reports on Iraq's foreign exchange reserves from the central bank. Track the global price of oil and OPEC Plus decisions, and read the official summaries from the International Monetary Fund's Article 4 consultations on Iraq. These documents will tell you more about the real direction of the dinar than 1,000 promotional videos ever could. This knowledge is your ultimate form of empowerment in a space filled with misinformation. It allows you to see the stark difference between the fantasy of a life-changing revaluation and the reality of a nation engaged in the slow, arduous, and unglamorous work of economic reform. Now, I want you to take that empowerment and put it into action. If this deep dive has cut through the confusion and given you a clearer, more realistic perspective, then do me a huge favor. Hit that like button right now to let me know you appreciate data over drama, and subscribe to the channel with notifications on, because we are committed to breaking down complex financial stories with this same level of unbiased, evidence-based analysis. And I have a critical task for you in the comments below. I want you to share one key takeaway you're walking away with from this 3-part series. Was it the understanding of the hope industry business model? The critical difference between redenomination and revaluation?
Let's build a community of informed investors in the comments. Thanks for watching, and remember, in the world of finance, the most profitable investment you can ever make is in your own financial education.